It's two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? All right, so glad to be here with you today, Joseph. Just a couple of guys talking here, so nice to be with you. And thanks for your warning. You're like, hey, I don't talk hardly at all, so it's going to be an interesting conversation. We know you're just the opposite. So
it's an easy way out sometimes. So it's an escape.
Yeah. It can be liberating to stop talking so much at times, right? That can become a whole practice as well. So, but we do want to have some conversation here today. I was inspired to talk with you about what's going on. You're doing some very amazing work. If people see the video of this, they're going to see all these amazing, paintings and everything. You can't kind of get around that. So we're not here to really talk about that in depth at all, but we get in a portal of transformation just hanging out here with Joseph with all his paintings here. So that's a cool thing. So, but there's been a long journey, from, doing all this stuff with helping people to, get into this healing zone with all the work you're doing, the artwork and all the stuff that you're doing without getting into detail. And versus like back when you were younger in your earlier career, I believe it was like finance, right? And things like that in that area anyway, forget specifically. But it's been a big shift. And I know some of that's been informed, I'm sure, based on male stereotypes. I just have a very clear intuition on that. So I'd love to hear about your story a little bit. I'll try to rein you in if you do go on a bit much, but yeah, I'd love to hear about your story with your your background, with your culture, when you grew up. Like for me, when I was growing up, here in America, it was like just kind of like be a cool guy, get the chicks, be tough, like that's just don't be a faggot. We used to use these kind of language, which I even say that word to some people in any context. People get offended these days. So it shows how the sensitivity has changed completely. A lot has changed. So I'd love to hear about what it was like growing up as a guy yourself and some of the things you ran into and how it shaped your life.
Well, that's an interesting story for me personally, because I grew up in Lebanon, and I was like few feet from, not far from the beach, and I grew up into a Catholic family and a Jewish. I was living in a Jewish neighborhood and in a Muslim city, so it was too crowded from all of this religious background, and when I was growing up, I grew up in a family that it was so peaceful in a sense of it. So we didn't have the drama attached to it, except the religious part of it. It was too overwhelming at times. But I always ask myself the question at that time, what am I doing here? I'm so bored. It's too boring. It's like people fighting each other and they believe in the same God. Really? I mean, how contradictory is that? And that stayed with me for the first 8 years. And I kept insisting, what am I doing here? What's the purpose for me here? And from a younger age, I was thinking about that because I didn't run into experiences. until age of 8, I was looking at the sun. I said, I'm not gonna take off my eyes from the sun, even they're gonna burn completely. And suddenly I saw an explosion happen in front of me. I said, oh, maybe I lost my eyesight, you know? And it's like at age of 8, you know, you don't have a clue about any of those things. And it's like, but suddenly after half an hour or even an hour, and it started to count down the heat from my eyes, I start seeing things. And it started with me from that point, and that's where I felt blessed to have that aspect of it. And I've seen my life between age of 8 to 15. I've seen everything. Even every place I lived in the States, I already seen it before I lived in it. I had details, but I don't have them in my memory, except when I get to it. If I meet somebody, I will feel, oh, I know that's the right person here. It's like I didn't have to go to a wrong experiences even. So I went into a smooth operation until age of 15. Everything stopped from what my clairvoyance is. I saw myself doing healing all my life, but I didn't understand what to say about it because I didn't understand what's the background of it. What is that eventually?
Yeah.
And I don't have a support at that time. Who I'm gonna speak to? My Christian family or to my Jewish neighbors or to my Muslim friends? So I didn't have any support, so I had to be self-taught from scratch. And this is one of the reasons I never read a book in my life. I never pursue a mentorship with somebody into the spiritual stuff because I have the whole universe supporting me. So why I need to talk to one person that's gonna give me their opinion when I can have access to the highway itself?
Mm-hmm. I seem to remember, because we've had many conversations, you know, over the years. I seem to remember you telling me things like having these awarenesses, all these different awarenesses, you know, when you're younger. And again, this is just my recollection. It could be completely false, but I seem to remember family members and whatnot kind of being like, oh, you know, you got your head in the clouds or something, or, you know, you're not something not going with what you're talking about. So yeah, but it's interesting, you know, not most people are waking up, you know, that early in life, like, okay, I'm having a big breakthrough. Usually happens later in life.
Yeah, you can have a breakthrough, but the problem is if you don't have support of somebody to tell you what's happening, it's not easy. But the good news for me, that what I taught from my journey, I always ask more questions. And I need the proof for it. And I was provided the proof all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key. Sometimes it's nice to see something, but I want the proof of it, how true it is. You know, and I got at 15, everything stopped in front of me. They said, now we're gonna put you to live life normal, and you already have enough reservoir of knowledge, and let's live. So I went at 15. They brought girls to school, so which we have a change of interest now, so we have to more concentrate on the physical life. Then I went into the States at 19, and in the States I went into electrical engineering, and I did a master in computer science in New York. Then 3 months into that, I decided to quit. And I moved from New York to Montreal, and this is when I embarked from an experience that happened to me at that time, that I need to get back into my spiritual journey. So from 15 to 27, I was completely into living the physical life.
Okay. And that was in part because you didn't have the support or the, you know, notion of what to do with what all this understanding.
At that time, no, I didn't know.
Yeah. And we want to relate it back to you being a guy in this case. There's, you know, anybody in that position is probably going to, you know, an environment you're in, male, female is going to be like, well, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah. So, but specifically as a guy, like what were some of the what was the energy? You know, some cultures the men are it's very patriarchal. People might consider it like, hey, the men are in charge. You know, women in the kitchen.
Big time, big time, big
Yeah.
time. The whole culture is in that, always favoring the boys than the girls. It's almost, you see it in every culture these days. So it's not like it's in one culture. It's becoming like it's a norm, but it's not the norm. You know what I mean? It is in many cultures, they emphasize some of them more than others and on that aspect of it. But when I got into my spiritual journey, I had a conflict, I noticed. I have all the cultural background, I have all the religious background, and I'm going to the spiritual new coming. And that's a conflict of interest. There's something that's not adding up.
Right.
So I went into a soul journey on my own for 6 months. I emptied completely everything in my subconscious, everything. I wrote it. I wrote about 18 notebooks. And I emptied everything I know about culture, religion, and everything else, that I have no association with any of them. Completely emptied. And now I brought in the spiritual. This way I was able to go with more ease with the spiritual journey. But in order to do that, for all of us, we can do that, but we need to have really a disciplined mind that if I do cut from the culture and religion, and even I cut from the family, because that's what I teach for the soul agreements, is you need to remove those agreements out in order to stabilize your life. Otherwise, you're going to keep having triggers coming from many people because of those agreements. So I had to cut from everything, from everybody. But doesn't mean if I cut from my family, I don't speak with them. I speak normally, I associate normally, but we don't have the emotional ties of the old agreements.
Right. Right.
You know, we can live this life on a peaceful way without having to have any interference from anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people I'm interviewing get influenced like, why don't you be a man? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You know, from the family. Did you run into things like that?
Very, very minimal, to be honest.
Okay.
Because, okay, my family might prefer me to be a doctor, maybe, or to be, my whole family is in the banking industry back home. Maybe they prefer to follow the same path as everybody, and they're not into the banking at a small level, at a higher level. But it wasn't interesting. But they never resisted or telling me or shaming me or doing anything. Why you're choosing this or choosing that? As I said, I come from a very peaceful family, from understanding. So they have the awarenesses, they have the understanding, and they allowed me to be whatever I felt. Even when I decided to quit, I mean, it wasn't like all the talks and the whole. I didn't have any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was blessed from that department. You know, not everybody, unfortunately, might have that choice because they're gonna go through many hassle, many shameful situation, many feeling kind of guilty of doing it, and especially if somebody paid for your schooling and somebody paid for this and somebody did this, somebody did that. I didn't have any of those. So, and that's where I was more awakened to just follow my heart desires.
Right. You had space for that. I do want to get back to, I want to get into that more, but like, I do want to understand like what some of it was, because I'm sure it was there still. So like the programming about, you know, how you're supposed to be as a man and all this stuff. Sort of, what were some of those things that went into the 18 notebooks, you know, like in that regard?
The 18 notebooks is deleting all the nonsense terminology from religions and cultures. You know, and I only cut the agreements between me and the family, and knowing that I didn't have the. Once I cut the agreements, so anything that was said or done, it doesn't affect me anymore because I don't have the sensitivity to it. That's the only difference. That's why I cannot be like everybody else, because from the day one, I removed the sensitivity part to releasing the agreements. And that's what become my specialty later on. Because once you remove those, you don't have to depend on somebody. You have to be a man, you have to be this, you have to be that. I always was giving to be what I want to be. I was the youngest in the family, first of all, and between me and my brother and sister, that has a big gap of age. So I always grew up by myself. I was always what paid attention from all my brothers and sisters because I was the youngest. So I was pampered but not spoiled. So you know what I mean? So but they never gave me a pressure on it. I remember one instant, we were sitting on a dinner table, and my sister asked me, I remember it well at that time, she said, "What you want to do when you grow up?" I said, "I would like to paint."
Interesting.
She said, "That's a great idea." My brother from the other side of the table, he said, "But how are you supposed to survive doing painting?" But he's coming from a banking side, so he's not saying it in a bad way. He's saying it in a good way. It's because we live in a physical world that I wasn't aware of it. But for me, what resonated for me at age of 8 at that time, I didn't know what survival is because I never experienced survival. So I didn't know what it means. So I thought in my young age mind, I formulated by thinking about it in that stage, that whatever I do in life, it might not please my brother. Okay, until I release that at one point. But since that time on that table, I stopped painting.
That's a big influence. Why do you? I mean, what stopped you? I mean, obviously it shows up as your brother, but what do you think? Like, what was it about your brother that like had that much influence on you?
Because that's part of the agreement between me and him, and there's nothing wrong with that. And one part of it is for me to go into my spiritual past and then get later on the painting back to, because the painting started with me at age 55, 5 years ago. And it didn't start in the beginning, but what it helped me, I can see it positively now, even from my brother making that choice for me, because if I started being an artist from a younger age, I become like every other artist is. But I was meant to be not like every other artist. I need to bring my knowledge of the energy, vibration, and frequency and make art different level.
Right.
So it was a positive thing from my brother. For me, if I look at it now, I see it very positive.
Right, of course. So there's still like how much older is your brother than you?
Maybe 7 years.
Okay, 7 years, you said?
Yeah. So I have 1 7, 1 12, and my sister is about 16 or 17.
Okay. So I mean that's a significant shift or change in age or whatever. I'm not even using the right word there. You know what I mean? Difference in age is what I'm trying to say. But my point is that I have a sister that's 5 years old, and even then there's almost a sense of almost like a parental kind of energy a little bit. It's not overwhelming or anything, but a little bit, because pretty much I don't know about your culture, but it's like they're meant to kind of watch over you, they watch for your sister, watch for your brother or whatever. And so it's interesting that, that relationship. And again, we're looking at it all through the stereotypes of men, like be a doctor. That's what you should do. You're spanking. That's where, we make money, and that's where we prosper. And if you were, was your sister told those things? You should be a doctor. You should be, right? Probably not, right?
They never done it that way, maybe they feel they like me to be a certain way, but they never express it
Right,
strongly. You know what I mean?
right,
Because
exactly. So they're giving
it's a
you the
traditional.
impress of like some of these stereotypes and through the agreements and everything, but still there's that thing with the stereotypes, but it wasn't big and heavy or on you and you should or shaming. So that's what I'm hearing from you. So
Yeah,
that was a blessing, right? So
that's a blessing. This is why I said I felt blessed into being into that environment and the whole thing, even though my schooling was paid by my brother, but he never said why you're doing engineering, for example, why you're taking that path. Maybe a doctor is better path for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but he never mentioned any of that. So I never had the big pressure.
That's nice. That's nice.
You know how many families that if the father is a doctor, they will push on their kid to be a doctor, but maybe that kid doesn't want to be a doctor.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now, one of the things we could explore too here on top of just yourself, which we'll circle back to, but like, I know a lot of your clients have been women, but I know there have been men too. What are like some of the big things you've seen men have to clear through with like all these male stereotypes and what? I know you look at things, you're working on a deeper level, the soul agreements, soul levels, but still there's like these ideas, these stereotypes. What do you see your clients deal with a lot?
There's a lot of stereotype. If I take it from the cultural way back home, it is stereotype and everything. So the man is more important and emphasizing more on the man than the woman.
Mm-hmm.
The woman is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
For example, to be the best woman to be for their husband.
Mm-hmm.
That's the slavery tactic. For me personally today, it's more slavery that way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But many cultures thrive through that. So many men that I worked with, they said, you should act as a boy, you should act as a man, you should be the one who, don't show emotions.
Yeah.
You have to, and that's available in the culture, but I never it was applied to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was aware of it, but I made a new choice that I'm not gonna listen to it.
Yeah. So you were,
what I mean?
That way, and that at a young age, you made a new choice.
New choice. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. You see, our purpose here is to fulfill the soul agreement, but doesn't mean this. It is only about the soul agreement. It's about we're coming here because the soul agreement has been a pattern going on with us for many lifetimes.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the soul agreement is a payback for something you did to the same person in a previous life for you to feel it from this side. But the only point into the soul agreement is to remove the soul agreement and start making new choices for the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be against you, not to go and punish yourself, not to go and being hateful to yourself or someone else even, and just release the tension of the agreement, release everything out of the system, and starting moving into that perspective, into that alignment. That's a new awareness, a new something, whatever it is has to be done, is to take it from a totally different perspective. And that's where I was able to make new choices all the way. So if you hit me with something now and it triggered me, I always say it even to my own student, man or woman. I said, okay, just before you react, take a deep breath, only that small breath, one breath, and withdraw your body a little bit back with that breath, and you'll see your response become different. It's not a trigger answered by a trigger. Reflex. Now we're both ready to fight. But when you take a breath here, then you elevated yourself. So you go that way.
Idea. Don't collide and hit conflict. Yeah.
And this is what most people are living in the conflict. They keep sitting in the conflict.
Right.
They're not isolating themselves, and only it takes a breath.
Right.
It doesn't take much. It's not like I'm saying you have to go and isolate yourself, sit in a cave for 25 years. No, take a breath and withdraw the body outside a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Push yourself back a little bit and bring a new energy to be higher than the story, what was going on.
Right. Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you elevate yourself, that means I'm not taking it anymore personally, because I'm not in the clash.
Right.
I'm lifting myself, and that will allow you to move into the directions you want to move.
That's
And
important because there's a lot of guys that we get triggered in different ways. So it could be like men get competitive with each other or something, and or I know better than in general that's happening these days, but like they get competitive. I know more about this than you do, and who's alpha here or whatever. Like,
and for me, I don't care about all of these.
right.
And if
But
you
some
know
people
better
are
than,
even just
me, then
unconsciously wired to these things, right? So it just comes up. They don't not even thinking about it, but they're just
yes,
responding from it from within.
but they can taking care of those. That's a choice,
Mm-hmm.
Because we're here to look. Life is simple. We make it complicated. We make it by choice, because we have the right to use our free will. And free will, we can use it positive or negative to act the same way. But if I'm here to make a new choice, if I see every time I run to that wall and I keep hitting myself and I feel pain from hitting that wall, then why don't I take a breath first and withdraw my head to see what's going on, and then make a new choice by elevating myself and go different direction.
Right.
And stop the conversation.
Yeah.
Stop the conversation. I'm good in deviating the conversation, because in a vibrational way, I am 3. I have a lot of 3 in me.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 is people are good talker and they can change the subject instantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When they want to deflate, completely turn off the conversation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
instead of making it confrontational.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where it's a learning tool. We can learn it all.
When Joseph says I'm a 3, he's talking about numerology, just so people know. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
But this is where people, the way we keep acting about things, because we haven't identified who we are yet. We still don't understand who we are. So if I have the notion that I am more knowledgeable of this or that I am it now, because I have nothing else deeper on a spiritual level that is connecting me to be the person I'm meant to be.
Right.
Because you see, we are a spiritual being. We're a spiritual human being. So most of us are living the human experience, but we disconnected the spiritual side. And my task today, what is to bridge the physical and the spiritual. I created a program for that, to start bringing them together. You're not as a human being, and you're not just a spiritual being. You're the combination experience that you want to experience it on a physical level. So you want to bring your knowledge from the spiritual. You might be Jesus in a past life. You can be whoever you've been in the past life. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we don't need to take it to the ego. Oh,
Right.
I was this, I was that. Who cares?
Right.
It's energy. If I say I was Jesus, but doesn't mean I was Jesus. I had the vibrational aspect of my soul level, from that level of attainment that is my soul attained. But doesn't mean I am Jesus. I have to be Jesus.
Right.
And that's a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
If we start seeing life from a bigger perspective, we see life differently. Like I teach it in one place. I'm gonna just mention this for you. Like you have an experience, you're confronting with somebody into one thing. You have your third eye here. You have your brow chakra. Now, if you look into the scope of the experience from your brow chakra, is going inside of a tunnel. That's only thing what you can see. Now, if you invoke your spiritual side and bring in from your crown chakra and say, okay, this is the experience I'm facing with this person today. Let me enlarge it.
Mm-hmm.
When you enlarge it, you see the whole picture from a soul perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Then the experience become nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
That's the difference.
Good
That's
point.
the difference. So it's not like healing should take forever.
Mm-hmm.
It never should.
Mm-hmm.
But what's make it complicated and take last longer is our own ego, our own pride that we don't want to drop it.
Right. Right.
I always say you need to drop everything. You need to drop everything. Everything you know about yourself today, if you want to go and move into a freer you, connecting with your spiritual side, anything you know about yourself, you have to completely let it go, because most of it is holding into an experience from the past.
Right. Well, I mean, some people are caught up in loops too. You mentioned a lot of things here, so I'm just going to go back to what you talked about with past lives. Maybe, like for me, I have a past life of, experience of a past life. What's real, what's not. We can get into that, but of being, really big guy and destroyer kind of energy, killing people and all this stuff. So if I'm triggering in certain situations based on the traumas and betrayals I experienced in that past life, in the past especially, maybe not as much these days at all, but like this energy comes up, and if I hit a big adversity, it's like, okay, you're just going to be destroyed now. Like that energy can rise, and I'm not conscious. It could have taken over in my life. It never has, really taken over in my life, but it's an awareness. It's something that's there. So when we're talking about being a guy that's even in the past life, for the women listening, like, no, those things are there. And those are the things we have to release our attachment to as well. Because
and that's what I do with the painting now. This is what I do with the painting. I would say, close your eyes and then open your eyes to whatever your eyes focus on, a block or something. What colors is that block? And I want you to put it into your mind's eye and close back your eyes. Let's go through that portal. Through that portal, we use time travel, past, back, forth, anything. If I have a problem today with a specific feeling of shame, it happened in this lifetime, I had the shame, but it's still, I released it from this lifetime, but there's something, I'm not sure what the heck is this, So I'll take them through that portal. I'll ask, I want you to go to the first time when you had the shame in a past lifetime. I don't care what it is, what happened there. We don't even look at that. I want you to feel the person that was there, and that person was you in that lifetime. You might be a man or a woman even, doesn't matter. But you were there, but this is where the feeling of shame got ignited. This is where it started. And after that, you never knew how to deal with it. It was always staying there. Running, and you're not even able to see it. So we start pulling the cords that you see between you and that person. We pull all these cords out. And I will ask you to ask your healing doctor to help you with that, because some cords you might not see them yourself because you're having resistance to something. Your healing doctor will remove them all completely. And then we ask that person and your healing doctor to start removing them from you for the number of lifetime you kept doing the same thing. Until this lifetime, we remove them all the way. Then we remove them from your ancestry, from your mom and dad ancestry, because you might have some lifetimes in your ancestry with those things. And then we remove them from your kids to free your kids.
Right.
And we took the whole thing, and we took all of these cords. Your healing doctor would place them into a field of energy, which is where the universe can handle all of these cords and release them completely for good. And then I bring you back there into the island where I do everything in the island. and then I put you into a med bed. Med bed is a high technology that is already existing in our physical life, but is not said and told to everybody. Only few elite they know about it, but they don't. Not everybody is aware of it. So I put them into the med bed from a spiritual side, and its effect is tremendous to erase the memory of this experience of the
Right.
guilt.
Right. So
And then
so bringing it more into the context of our conversation, I mean, this is all great, is for men that are listening that have experienced this kind of sense of coming into this life and okay, you know, you got to be this, don't cry, be tough, be a lawyer, be a doctor, you know, even be an engineer, you know. So do this traditional path, and they've experienced a lot of humiliation in their life because they felt they weren't strong enough or tough enough in certain situations as a man. And so, but I think one of the things you're showing is, again, when we put it in a bigger, larger context, right? Like, listen, you have all these agreements, and you're a man. You came into a man to experience all these things for a deeper purpose, you know, and that's sort of what you're pointing into by saying all these things, and then you're helping people with that, and as a practitioner. But you know, you're an unusual story out of all the people we're interviewing, because like I handled a lot of things early on. What I'm kind of wondering about though is what, you know, to show that you've experienced something that, you know, is people can relate to. Like, you still have been dealing with an overlay in society of being a man. So what are some of the kind of not overwhelming but more subtle things, the way maybe it's influenced you? Have you felt at times like, man, I should be way better at business, I'm great at sales, why isn't my business bigger? Or, you know, like things are whatever, like whatever, maybe I should have gone. I mean, not last long, these thoughts, they may come in and out in a second or a minute or something, but because of the collective conditioning, I'm just curious what things you've run up against. And then again, you can share, you got so much wisdom, we could hear you go on with yes. all these things. But
I have one thing that is really, I have it for a long time, and I need to change it myself now because I don't need it anymore. Is it when it comes to money? When it comes to money, I had a program in my mind because I came from a family we didn't have the issue of money or any of that because they all works in the banks and everything. Yeah. But for me, I never thought I want to be out of the money system. Mm-hmm. And I could have become millionaire in what I do, mm-hmm. but I worked in a limited ways because because I am aware that I can manifest anytime I want. I'm right. Good in manifestation, right. But I was always keeping myself into a limit. And now I see that I need to change that limit because I never took clients just left and right me. I don't take except, you know, I need to have a soul agreement, me and them also. Mm-hmm. If I don't have that soul agreement, I'm wasting their time and they're wasting my time. Most coaches, they take everything. This way they accumulate the wealth. Mm-hmm. But I didn't need the headache me. Mm-hmm. I can manifest. It doesn't mean I was living poorly because I traveled 45 countries. So it wasn't like living just by this.
Skin of your teeth, they say, right?
You know, I still traveled more than many people. Mm-hmm. You know, and with a limited way of thinking of how much I can have money or not. And now because we're entering into the vibration of the 5D, and I want to expand in it now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to expand it into different areas, and especially now because when it comes to the painting are open to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I can show them how to completely clear themselves. This is a self-healing tool. You can have it in your own home And if you have a practice to yourself for an hour a day, you can change your life.
Mm-hmm.
You can completely, an old experience, you can go through time travel and change how it happened, and even stopping it from happening, and it release all the energies in one shot. So healing, even for men today who don't like to be seen with other people in a group talking about their own emotions, that's a huge tool to use today. That you can do it yourself. You can have whatever number of meditation in any area you want, and they will take you to the level you want. So my limitation for me was the money, and it's still till now. But now I'm making a newer choice, and I'm waiting for that newer choice to start taking place.
It sounds like some of it was, it's all soul agreements. I get that. But here, if we look in this life, it's like, oh, you can't make money in art. Therefore, like, and then in society, just in general, not just as men, but you can't make money in art or healing. I remember when I started my academy for invincible healers, there were people like, don't work with healers. They're all broke. They can't make money. They don't know how to make money and everything. So I'm like, okay, well, then that's why they need my help. And but you'll never prosper. You'll never make money. I'm like, yeah, I will, and I did. So it did well. So it's just transcending these things with I think with money for conscious guys like yourself, they're pretty advanced in terms of spiritual attainment and wisdom and knowledge, even from a young age. In your case, it's like you start to see through the matrix and everything. So this idea, this money system, maybe there's a part of you is like, wow, that's just all a bunch of stuff. I kind of honor and respect it, but at the same time, it's kind of crazy, and it creates this sort of disconnect with that.
I was really disconnect from that system in a big way, because when I left engineering and everything else before, and at one point I was business development, international market, responsible for 26 countries. I left that too. So when I disconnected from all of that, because I don't want to be in that matrix, and I put whatever limitation on how much money I need for each month. I have the money for each month, whatever I need, because I'm a good manifestor. I'm aware of that.
Right.
I'm very good manifestor. But today, I decided to make a newer choice. You know what I mean? Because everybody told me, how are you going to survive doing numerology? It's the same thing with you, with the healing. And I was doing physical healing too. So how are you going to survive doing that? But here I am 35 years after.
Right.
Now I'm feeling the pinch of the finance and everything, because I'm moving from one area that I'm closing the 35 years into the healing part, but I'm bringing it into the healing through art.
Right.
So I'm shifting, I'm making the shift. So that's where I have the squeeze. But from that squeeze, I'm learning that now I need to start doing it in a different way when it comes to money, without being connected with the matrix either.
Yeah, it's interesting. Your imprinting on money, sounds largely from the men, because the men dominated. It's like your brother, right? I mean, your brother, I don't know, you didn't mention your dad much, but we're in banking, we were all.
Yeah, but my dad I didn't find that I have a lot of my dad, me. I never, the money was an issue for him either.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was. My brother, even he didn't say it in a bad intention, because where his environment of knowledge, he knows, like, if you are an engineer and there is a recession, the first people they fire are engineers. He knows that. That's statistically, he knows it from his bank, probably.
Right, statistics, yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was trying to get me into works that, despite of what's happening in the economy, he's still not out of it. That's from his own idea. Doesn't mean he was doing it. He wasn't doing it in a bad intention. It's that's why when he said, how you're supposed to survive doing painting,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or they maybe
And
people say, maybe they didn't say it to you, but they say, how are you going to take care of your family? You know, it's already imprinted. Like, of course, you're the one that's going to have to take care of your family.
yes, and I have 2 kids,
Yeah.
so it's not like they're sitting suffering,
Yeah.
and they have anything they want whenever they want it. So it's not like
Mhm.
you know. But at the same time, I wasn't hooked up to the ideology that I need to be in power. I need
Yeah.
how you define success with men and women now, because women, half of them are men, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because they adopted the male energy to survive, and that's understandable.
Right.
But how are you gonna take society of defining their success? They define their success is how much money they have and what position they have. That's how they define success. And if you define success from that point of view, that's mean you're not happy in your life still.
Right. Because you're
Because
always,
money
you're
doesn't
always
bring
below where you could be,
bring,
right?
money doesn't bring you happiness, and your position doesn't bring you happiness.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's gonna make, you're only doing it for other people to see you that you're successful. But really how successful you are or how happy you are with your own success.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
if you have $2 million in the bank, are you gonna eat more in the $2 million that you have, or if you're making 10,000 and you still make it, you're eating
Mm-hmm.
the way whatever you'd like to have,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still living the same way. But the level of happiness between the two vacuum is not the same. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the same at all, because the more money I notice from my own client, the more money they have, the more scared and afraid to lose it.
Yeah, often, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that would be definitely showing up for you if that's a school that you're learning in this life, right? So you've got a money school that you're getting deeper into, especially now that you're transitioning to art, which shows you're more ready in that area. You're building that business more and more. It's great, you're doing great with it. So starting to build and grow that. And there, to my perception anyway, as someone that tunes in, is there's a sense of strength, you call it masculine or otherwise, but a sense of strength they're bringing in to this work. Like we were talking about the other day, like we both feel this urgency with both of our work, right? We got to get it out, we got to get it going, and that's usually associated with a sense of masculine. Let's get it going, let's make it happen, and it kind of vibe. And you're stepping more into that, whereas maybe in the past your path wasn't about that, but now there's a phase for that. There's a stepping into this, it seems like. So that's just what I perceive. I mean, it may not be true, but that's what it seems like. And I think it's like bringing it into these areas where it normally wasn't, into healing, into art, into how the money comes with that. I think is pretty amazing, realizing it all does fit together, that these stereotypes of people having money, oh well, they're miserable, they're can't possibly be happier with more money. But it all depends on how you hook it up and within yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it is. Look, everything is personal. We cannot generalize everything the same way.
Right.
But for me personally, when I decided I'll get whatever I need every month,
Yeah.
and I can manifest, I am in manifesting on demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work with all my life with the universe. I have access to anything. I have creative mind, and I can create anything instantly.
Yeah.
Now, what I see now from the painting, I don't want to have it limited, because my goal is to have a painting in every home.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. That's what drives it. Yeah. That's what's
That's
driving.
what's driving it. It's not because of the money part
Right.
of it,
Right.
but
Right.
this one is a physical product. It's not like I'm doing a program online, which is, it doesn't matter to me the expense of it, because it's only one-time expense. But this one, every painting has its own expense
Mm-hmm.
from all the colors, because most of the painting, I have 32 colors
Mm-hmm.
in them,
Mm-hmm.
because each one is a different vibration. So if you have a painting behind you to bring you the success, the wealth, the wisdom, even if you're not using the meditation for it, still emit the energy to your
Right.
and have it in a light place, because those paintings are coming from light.
Mm-hmm.
They need light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't put them in a dark place. They need light. Put a
What we
light
see
to it.
here with you talking about all this, getting back to the subject, is that, again, the heart of service is what's driving it. But then if there's a disconnect with the idea that, oh, this is, I'm not saying you're saying this, but this idea is around, this 3D money thing, I can manifest on demand anyway, so everything's provided for, no big deal. We don't need so much. But then, if that's slowing down the train of this happening, then it's infusing like, no, okay, I'm ready to receive the channels of money to circulate these paintings everywhere, and what are your authentic desires around receiving the circulation of energy through money, and just getting into that, realizing it all can fit together, it all can come together, and realizing that.
But the realization today, what I'm making from it, I can make so much money from that, but also I'm attaching it to how many people with that money I might help.
Right, exactly.
So I'm not bringing the money just for me.
Right.
I'm bringing it what I can do in different countries that they needed that money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna not to keep it surrounding around me. That is the
Right.
importance is me, what I can do somewhere else with it. In my own community here in Vancouver, and then in Canada, and then move it to the States, move it to Africa, move it to anywhere. What you can do with the money is not about self-gain.
Right.
It's about humanity gain.
Yes, exactly. So this idea of the egoic, or dare I say, male kind of orientation of, you were talking about it earlier, like my status, and look at my numbers, and a lot of, you're right, half the women, or certainly a lot of women are doing this too. Like, look at it, I'm making millions, I got everything, and both of us have met these women behind closed doors, and they've got massive issues sometimes. So it's a toxicity that can be there, but it doesn't have to be that way at all. And so the men listening, we have an opportunity to be the examples of, how it can be, in a way it's of service. When I'm thinking about share and meditate, make money with the world, and everything that goes with that message, it is simply about the mission. It's not, I'm trying to accumulate all this cash for ego, or, so that for a big car I want. Want some of those things maybe, but, I'm not at all. I've stripped myself of any desire really even of it. It's more just, I'd love to experience the circulation of money, where I can just do the things that I want to do and give to what I want to give to, whatever it is, because there's lots of people looking for money. If I could circulate blessings and love through money,
because money to me is energy.
The thing I can give into the world in that circulation is how I look at it. So
money is energy.
Yeah.
You want it, you'd attract it, just invite it in. The problem in humanity is not there's not enough money for everybody. I'm having a hard time to receive it.
Right, exactly.
That's where the problem is. But now remember, when people start driving themselves for success, is an image, it's a mask they're trying to put in front of everybody that their life is so good.
Right.
And they put the mask of success in front of them, maybe to show their parents, I can make my own money, I can do things by blah, blah, but they're still living miserable.
Right.
And it's a mask to show that I am, like we're back to the culture, especially for women, and men is a domineering, and everybody thinks that your sister, your mother, and everybody else that's supposed to be in the kitchen raising the family and the whole charade of that. And that woman that said, no, I'm gonna make the money, but sometimes that money is driven unconsciously to show mom, dad, or brother, or whoever is, I can make it the same way as my brother or my father or anybody else. So that's a mask here.
Yeah.
That's not done in the right reason.
Right.
And we hold ourselves to so many masks, and we're used to the mask because the mask is to hide our true essence. Now, if you went into a physical experience, and after that physical experience, you start seeing yourself putting weight and weight and weight, or if you had a rape or physical abuse, you start putting all the fat into the buttocks of ourselves, into the stomach of ourselves. We start making everything else. If we don't want to feel for somebody else desirable, then if for a woman, she will shrink her even chest to become more mannish, for not to be desirable or attractive because of the abuse she had. This is all masks, and you can grow that back if you want to grow it back, because it is a blockage that you did the blockage for it. To that simplicity, everything we are. If you don't like something about your body, then change it. It's you put yourself in that body, then go change it. You are the director of your own movie, which is your life. You can hire actors and actresses to bombard you with stuff, and you can fire them too. What's holding you from fire them? Nothing. You're the director. You go to the editing room, you cut many scenes. This is what I do in time travel. Let's cut those scenes from our life. We don't need them anymore. Let's build into new ways that makes me fulfilled from inside.
Right.
Because happiness, joyfulness, and being happy and joyful is an inside out, not outside in. That's why it never worked if you have money, if you have 6 cars, if you have 60 houses or whatever it is, because happiness and joy is from within us.
Right.
Because if I am not happy, I cannot make my kids happy. It always has to reflect my inner world, not my outside world. And this is men, they need to understand that. You don't need to sacrifice yourself completely just to support the family. You can support the family without sacrificing. The word sacrificing is a program.
Yeah.
It's a program we all associated because you've been told by your dad, don't do this. You have to act your age. You have to be responsible for everything. You need to hold yourself in a high standard that don't show your emotion, boy, and don't be this, don't be that. But that's all programs. If you are the kind, gentle person you are to yourself, your kids are seeing it through you. And that's the biggest lesson you're teaching them.
Right.
Not to be tough, not to be this nonsense and that nonsense, because those are old program, matrix programs.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole point. We're missing the point of everything. Life is so simple. We make it so complicated, but we need to work a little bit on it. And this is why, because in the past 35 years, I wasn't taking everybody. I was taking only people who have soul agreement. And I have millions of people with soul agreements. So don't get me wrong. There's some for the painting, even people with the soul agreements through the paintings. I have people that to help me start this business, because I have no idea about art. It's a new business for me. And art is a straightforward through the box. So all investors in art or curator in art, they think the same way. They're all programmed the same way. I'm bringing them something that has all energy in it. Now, what the heck is that? I put myself in galleries, but the galleries I felt they're not able to associate with my energy. They're still always in the background, my stuff. And it didn't help for me to start making it in a different way and start bringing it into different alignment, bringing it outside my, so we all programmed in a certain way, men or women. And I say woman, why I say woman, because there's a lot of women have male energy.
Right. And half the people listening are women. Half the people listening are going to be women.
No, but seriously, because we all have that problem.
Yeah.
Men or women. because we all have to mask something in order to prove a point or to prove something that we have lack of.
Right.
Or we've seen it through our growing up in our family, that I've been sitting at home and I see everything good coming to my brother because he's my brother, and I'm smarter than him in school, I'm smarter than him in everything, but he's still the most everything to my parents.
Yeah.
And there's many cultures like that, Italian, Lebanese, all the Arab world, and the whole, probably the South America, and even in the States.
Jealousy and a lot of
It's a competition.
Competition. There's a lot of toxic energy in the relationships, and absolutely, I've seen a lot of that too. Well, wow, we covered a lot of material. I think this has been an amazing conversation. Getting on the money and everything, you have so much to share, such a depth and breadth of things that you shared and we discussed today. So, man, so really grateful for your time. We have to start to close things for today, but I just want to say thank you for sharing everything, and the journey will continue. Maybe we'll do another interview someday on these sorts of things. So
anytime. I'm more free now than I ever been, and I'm enjoying doing the more paintings, and I start taking painting for people to have really a painting at their time, and look for what they call Black Friday. I'm having a special, just I want to move some of the painting away for people to start investing in, even if it was small or medium or large, doesn't matter what the painting is, to start moving towards that, and just put me the painting there for you to start having it vibrate, helping you to release that fear of I need to be tough because I'm a man. No, you're a man, great, but you don't need to be tough. You need to be you.
Right.
And you decided to live in this lifetime in a male form, then enjoy your male form. Don't slave your male form just because of what programming is. And that's a whole message that has to be given. If it was for a woman has a lot of male energy, it's the same message.
Right. Absolutely.
The power in women is to first dump their male side in order to find the female power in it, and for male to start adapting more female energy in them. Doesn't mean they're going to become gay or lesbians. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's about the energy, because if you have the 6 in numerology, the 6 is about balance. It's to balance the male and the female side, balancing.
Definitely.
Because 6 is the only number that you can divide it by 2, which is the female, and 3, which is the male. It's the only number. So it's to bring the balance. We all need the balance. Because your intuitive side comes from your female, and men, I've seen it a lot in my 35 years. If I go to a woman psychic, they're great, they're everything. There's a lot of good ones. But if I go to a male side, if a male guy as a psychic and he's opening his female and his male is good with it, you will have a reading that you never had it in your life.
Right.
Because he's balanced.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. We need to cherish that. If we all get into the balance of our life, and that's you can make it. And if you want something to practice it on your own time, a painting with energy with it, and the meditation to bring you the balance and start reprogramming you in a different ways, that will be the answer for you. And that's something to look up for it.
Okay. All right. Great, Joseph. Thanks for sharing everything. We'll talk again real soon.
All right, then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.